Hi, and welcome to today's episode of Distinct Authors Talking Publishing. Today, we're going to be chatting a little bit about research and how it impacts your novel. If you're a writer, you will ultimately have to spend some time doing some form of research. There isn't any genre out there where research isn't going to be part of it. The genre you write in will determine the amount of effort and time you will need to invest. If you're writing a historical novel, you may spend more time researching than if you're writing a contemporary one. If you're writing a fantasy novel, there is more creative freedom, but you will again still be doing some research. Building a world would also require research because you're going to be looking at aspects of life, the religion, the culture, every aspect of life, and so on and so forth to design your own world and build your own culture, religion. And you want to ensure that there is accuracy in your writing. Period details can set the scene and theme for a novel set in medieval times, just as legal and case studies would be needed to make a crime drama or a thriller come to life. As well, certain skill sets are going to need in-depth, accurate knowledge. For example, if you're writing a sword fight, you'll need to know the terminology and skills required. You'll want to be familiar with the motions and the different types of weapons. Same if you're talking about a naval battle or a natural disaster. These details help to create a sense of realisms and accuracy when you're writing. Will you use every detail you learn? The answer is no, because the specifics or minute details aren't necessary and would honestly be quite jarring to the reader. The other side of this particular coin is you won't need to put them in the book because you will be filling the space with action and or dialogue to create a more active storytelling. So what is important in the process? How do you decide what you need to know? The story you're writing will provide the guide to the details of what you need to know. It will keep you on track to the facts, to the tidbits you're interested in, and what you will need. Remember, there is never too much information if it will impact the plot of your book. One tip I found over the course of my writing career is to have a notebook on hand to allow you to make notes, jot down tips, etc. I'll get into this a little bit more shortly. To help you get your feet under you and start researching for your next novel, I've come up with some tips and suggestions for you. Keep in mind your plot or story idea will be the guide to what you're researching. When you are ready to begin, focus on areas of interest pertaining to your novel and when you start to research. There will be times when there is crossover because some information can be used in multiple genres. You want to focus on the specifics of what your novel is about. So what you need to know, what details are needed to create the impact for your novel. This will be dependent on a number of factors such as the setting, the plot, the character details, and more. However, if you feel there is a specific detail or something you may want to know, be sure to include it. You may not remember everything, so be flexible and prepared to do mini research sessions as you come along your journey. Create a list of topics in an organized manner. What details are needed for your setting, your characters, your world, the politics, the mythology, your currency, food, etc. Ensure you keep an open mind as you will need to jot down notes on more than only what will help you to move your book forward. Don't be discouraged knowing you won't use all or most of your notes. Having the information in mind will help with the writing. I find it is always a good idea to keep in mind. You will also want to write down all of your ideas, your questions, even if it's during your writing. If you are writing, make a note on the side and research after so you don't waste time or get distracted from the actual writing. This allows you to research what you need when you can and organize your research. Organization is one of the most important aspects of research. If you are disorganized and have no clear direction, you may find yourself struggling to get the most out of your research. Disorganization also means you may not be recording the sources of your information down in the full detail which you should. Keeping a list of the resources used for your research is a must. I will expand on this topic shortly. Color coordinate your research resources can be beneficial. If you color coordinate what you are using, it is often easier to return to the specific passage of notes to cover the specific topic. Now, you may want to look at the upcoming podcast I have, which is strictly focusing on organization. And as soon as it becomes available, I will put a link to it down in the description box for you. Establish a system to store your research. Spreadsheets are wonderful. They allow you to adjust and track as you need to. They are completely customizable as well. Creating a spreadsheet for each topic allows you to have everything in one place. Depending on what information you are collecting, you may find it is something you come back to again and again. The spreadsheet should have the topics you're recording, the source, and possibly the reason that you are recording it. Topic you are researching should be neat and precise. If you are going to be revising the information and updating as you go, this means being organized. See the example template I use in the description box. If you'd like a copy, please send me a quick email and I will send you the customizable link. Now keep these lists in an easy to access folder or document. I recommend Google Drive, Dropbox, or Scrivener because you can organize and maintain as needed, and it allows you to be able to access wherever you are. Define your topics and break them down to create a complete picture. And by this, I mean you include details on your time period, the details about the clothing, the weapons, perhaps the laws for men and for women, for the social interaction, for social status, etc. And then you want to refine that list. If there is something on that list you won't use or has no relevance to your novel, don't waste your time. Cut it from your list of topics to be researched in further detail and move on with what you need to find out. Once your list is refined and reflects the topics you need to look at, prioritize. Prioritizing your list so you start with the topics holding the biggest impact of the story and move to the least important. Don't be afraid to make copious notes to create that priority list. Create your research agenda to be clear and plan the idea around. How long do I need to research, and what's the time frame I can dedicate to my task? Is there anyone I can interview? Now, I have found if there's someone whom you can speak to which knows details or can relate to the inspiration of a character, it's a great idea to avail yourself of that opportunity. In my experience, contacting someone and asking if you could speak to them because you're doing research will garner more success than you think. Are there websites, books I can utilize to help complete the research? Reading a lot, whether it's the internet, the library, are incredible sources of information. If you have a local university or college, approaching them and going into the library and being able to do research can also be a tool to be pulled out of your toolkit. Other tips you can try would be to try foods the characters might eat. Go to a restaurant, for example. If it's something unusual, you could possibly attempt to make the food yourself in a recipe. I have a recipe for a demon stew. Now, I've made it myself and it's quite tasty. Am I using the ingredients that are in the book? No, I'm using what I have available, but it gave me insight into creating that particular dish and knowing what would be in that dish. So the value in visiting a museum or a period location to gain knowledge is immense. It allows you to experience the setting in a manner and get inside information from those who are in the know. And that is invaluable hands-on research, which you cannot replicate at all because you don't have their experience, you don't have their knowledge. And a lot of the time, they are more than happy to talk about what they know and share those details. And remember, when you are doing research, you will need to keep a record of your sources. There are two benefits to this. The first benefit is, of course, you have all of your sources in one place and can go back to them when you need to. The second is having the information on hand means if there's a question from an editor or a reader, you can provide proof of it. Double and triple check your facts and record every single resource that you have used. What you learn will not all be used in your writing. Avoid an information dump with the details of what you've learned. Don't focus on details which don't move the plot forward when you're writing your novel. Having them in your research is great but not necessary. A perfect example of this is a battle scene. You're not going to put in the details about which type of sword is best and who went to school for how long and which character is thrusting, which character is parrying. Instead, you're going to focus on showing that battle, the clashing of the swords, using short, empowering sentences. This is the key to utilizing your research properly. Details in your research is one of the most important planning stages when it comes to writing, I believe. It gives you a major boost to the credibility of the author to showcase how their knowledge impacts the story. It allows for the ability to be transported into the story and gives a sense of realism to the novel. So I hope you have found this helpful. Happy researching. Please click on the follow button if you haven't already. And I thank you in advance if you do, so you do not miss any upcoming episodes. Have a great week, fabulous weekend, and we will talk to you next week.